Welcome to Trauma Bay. From the earliest days of human civilization, fear has always been a powerful motivator. It shapes decisions, alters behavior, and often overrides rational thought. Religion didn't create fear, but it certainly learned how to master it, and not just as a byproduct, but as a carefully woven thread running through doctrine, rituals, and teachings. The use of fear in religious systems is rarely accidental. It's systemic, structured, and often deeply embedded in how people are taught to view the world, their place in it, and what might come after death. Think about how many belief systems are built around punishments and consequences. Not natural ones, but supernatural ones. Eternal torment, endless suffering, divine judgment. These aren't metaphors. They are often presented as concrete outcomes. You don't believe in the right God? You suffer. You break a rule even unknowingly? You suffer. You're born into the wrong group? That too is grounds for eternal punishment. In many cases, you're already guilty just for being human. Fear becomes a lifelong companion, often introduced at an early age. Children are taught that questioning religious authority might lead to eternal consequences. They hear stories of punishment not just for murder or theft, but for doubt, for desire, for curiosity. Guilt is tied to normal human behavior, and shame is used as a tool to make people stay in line. You're not just disobedient. You're sinful. You're not just flawed. You're damned unless you follow the path laid out for you. This emotional manipulation is rarely acknowledged by believers, not because it isn't real, but because it's normalized. It's woven into prayers, holidays, music, and family rituals. The fear isn't always overt. It's subtle, often hidden behind ideas like salvation, obedience, and righteousness. But peel back the surface, and what you often find is a structure designed to control through consequence. You're constantly being watched. Your thoughts matter. Your doubts matter. And you're told that some invisible judge is keeping track. The fear mechanism doesn't stop at the individual level. It expands to the community. It shapes laws, influences politics, and determines who's in and who's out. If you leave the group, there are consequences. Not just after death, but right now. You may be shunned, disowned, cut off from your family. In many cultures, apostasy is punishable by death. And even in places where it's not, the social cost is often devastating. What makes this structure especially effective is how internalized it becomes. People start policing themselves. They censor their thoughts, suppress their desires, avoid questions that might lead them down a path of doubt. Not because someone is forcing them, but because they've been trained to fear the consequences. A God who demands love but threatens hell is not offering a relationship. That's a hostage situation masked as worship. In many ways, religion behaves like a psychological surveillance system. You're taught that you're never alone, that someone is always watching, that every action, every thought, every emotion is being recorded. This kind of mental conditioning isn't just about faith, it's about control. And it works, especially when reinforced by trusted figures, parents, teachers, religious leaders, who themselves were shaped by the same fears. Religious fear doesn't always look like screaming preachers or fire and brimstone sermons. Sometimes it's as quiet as a parent telling a child that doubt is dangerous, or a teacher warning students not to ask certain questions, or a community slowly pushing away anyone who doesn't follow the group's moral code. It's in the small things, the silent pressure, the unspoken rules. But when fear becomes the foundation of belief, it's not really belief, it's survival. People conform not because they're convinced, but because they're afraid of what might happen if they don't. And that fear gets dressed up in words like faith, devotion, and sacrifice, even though at its core, it's about submission. The numbers show that fear-based religious control still plays a massive role in the modern world. A 2021 Pew Research study found that in many countries, belief in hell remains a central motivator for religious adherence, even as overall religiosity declines. In the U.S., over 60% of Christians still believe in eternal punishment. And in some Islamic countries, questioning core doctrines is not just taboo, it's illegal. The more you look at religious doctrine, the more you see a pattern. There's often a problem created that only the religion claims to solve. You're told you're broken, but here's the fix. You're told you're guilty, but here's the path to forgiveness. But who created the guilt in the first place? Who decided you needed to be afraid? The same system that offers redemption often creates the fear that makes redemption necessary. It's like setting a fire and then selling buckets of water. In secular systems, fear can still exist, but it's usually rooted in real-world consequences, laws, ethics, social agreements. You steal, you might go to jail. You lie, people lose trust. But religion often deals in unverifiable consequences, eternal ones you can't see or question. That's what makes it so powerful. There's no proof, but there's also no escape. It becomes a closed loop. You can't verify the threat, but you're told it's too dangerous not to believe it. And when you grow up in that environment, it shapes your identity. You carry it into adulthood, often without even realizing how deep it runs. People may stop going to church, but still feel guilt over things that aren't wrong, still feel watched, still feel the old fears lingering in the background. That's the mark of an effective control system. It doesn't need to be enforced forever. It just needs to be planted deep enough. It's no coincidence that religions often grow in places where uncertainty is high, where life is fragile, the future is unclear, and people need answers. Fear thrives in uncertainty, and religion offers a kind of certainty that's rarely questioned. Not because it's rational, but because it's repeated. Over and over again, from the pulpit, the scriptures, the songs, the rituals. It becomes truth by sheer repetition. But the real tragedy is that this fear-driven control stifles growth. It discourages exploration. It punishes thinking. It turns natural human curiosity into danger. And when people break free, they don't always feel liberated. Many feel lost, anxious, ashamed. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because they've been taught to associate independence with punishment. Breaking that cycle takes time. It takes unlearning, questioning, and facing fears that were never yours to begin with. But the more people question, the more cracks start to show. And through those cracks, something healthier can grow. Not belief based on fear, but values based on reason, empathy, and understanding. Because when you strip away the fear, what often remains isn't faith. It's silence. And in that silence, people start to think for themselves. And that's where real freedom begins.